Hey, welcome back to another Black City Coffee vlog. In this video, we are going to talk about two new coffees. I've been working pretty diligently and putting in the work, putting in the hours, and just putting in the testing time, really, and just tasting things. The topic that's kind of like on my mind is like, mine doesn't look like theirs, so comparison. Comparison. So the problem with comparison is, especially in coffee roasting, is that it's definitely the thief of joy, as with anything, right? So typically what they say about comparison, when you start comparing yourself to others, it is the thief of joy. And part of roasting your own coffee and creating your own blends, getting in with the roaster and just like seeing what the coffee does is that, just the discovery of just like going through the motions, failing and succeeding and tasting and going, like what is going on here? And you may found that over your time of learning how to roast, you're often like, what is going on here? Why is it acting this way? Why does theirs look like that and mine looks like this, especially with data, now that we have the ability to screenshot data, throw it up on social, and then compare it to everybody else's. And so I totally still feel that way, and I'm like, oh, mine doesn't look like yours. Yours is pretty curves, and no matter what, I think the concept of pretty curves, and really the bottom line of a pretty curve is like, you know what you're doing. Is going to plague us, I think, for the rest of our life. So let's just accept that. Let's just go, okay, like, yeah, there is this like idealistic or sort of idealized curve in terms of like coffee roasting data, and just put a pin in that and put that to the side, and you can pedestalize that if you want. But I am going to choose not to pedestalize data, okay? So no matter what philosophy you choose, I think to roast coffee, to roast your own coffee, if you work for the big boys, if you work for corporate, if you work for X, Y, and Z brand, or you work for yourself, like I do, or you like do it like a hobby like I do, no matter what philosophy you choose, just know that. It's a philosophy, it's a style that you're choosing, and if you're going to commit to that, cool, good. I think what's most important, not necessarily the philosophy, because most likely you're going to just choose the style of the philosophy that works for you, meaning, okay, in parentheses, works for you, meaning for your environment, for your market, for your brand, for your higher ups, whoever's making the decisions possibly, for the machine that you're using, for the green that you have available to you, right? Okay, so you can fill that in with whatever you want, works for you. I think what's most important to that is like consistency. Just commit to that. Now you may make room for innovation, or you may make room for new tools, new data points, new access. I don't know, you may upgrade or even downgrade your process or your flow in terms of roasting coffee. But I think overall it's the consistency, like what you're doing day in, day out to produce a product that is what you produce. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's so important which philosophy you choose. Just choose one that works for you. If your data looks like mine, or if you strive to have your data look like somebody else, like, okay, cool. But I just really wouldn't focus too much on, things looking exactly alike when your variables aren't exactly alike. Does that make sense? So, how this kind of ties into what I'm doing, I'm trying to make an omni-roast. Now, an omni-roast, as I've learned, is something that you can roast at a level that everybody can basically take into any brew method, and it will still taste good. For example, typically this is something that is roasted like maybe to a medium level, because maybe you can take it to the espresso machine, You could take it to the pour over, you could take it to the AeroPress, you could take it to the drip machine, maybe even French press, and it will still generally have the same flavor profile in those brews. Because you know, brew may affect the way a coffee tastes. A more drastic example is maybe taking a light roasted coffee, taking it to the espresso machine, and maybe tasting a little bit too much acidity in the cup because the brew method accentuates acidity, versus taking that same light roasted coffee and then coming in, doing a pour over, and then having that taste bomb diggity doobie, right? So those are the differences, right? So I've learned companies create omni-roasts so that somebody who's not so maybe particular about all that stuff, who's not really looking for a particular cup, can just take it to any sort of method. Maybe they're doing a lot of traveling. Maybe they have a lot of people in the house who drink coffee different ways. Maybe dad drinks espresso, mom drinks it pour over, daughter drinks it AeroPress, whatever, but it all tastes good so we can feed more people and have more people be happy. Omni-roast, omni. So I was like, this is cool. This solves a couple of challenges for me as a hobby roaster, going like, you know, I really would love to offer something sort of signature or brand or something consistent in Black City Coffee. And for a moment there, I just thought it was like a light roasted blend. Okay, done. That's what I thought it was going to be. So I was like, maybe this is not the answer. I really like the idea of more people enjoying Black City Coffee, whether they drink an espresso or pour over, because I have a couple people like on my subscriber list who subscribe to Roaster's Choice, and they're like always drinking espresso versus somebody else who's always drinking pour over, and I would love to offer something that could serve both of them, and in addition also be offered throughout the year. The tough thing about ordering such small quantities and being a hobbyist roaster, not having an established brand, not having a lot of money, is that things are always changing. So I have to be preemptive, but I'm not very good at that. So I would rather create a blend and roast it than at an omni-roast level that more people can enjoy it. So this is my attempt to reach more people and also make it easier on myself in terms of ordering and roasting, and just have it be more of a people pleaser and more efficient for me as a roaster and somebody who's just running this little side hobby thing. Okay, so I figured for me the best way to do that in terms of like dealing with the challenge of like green running out or even countries not offering certain green is to have either a 3-2-4 flavor on an origin blend. That way, if one is missing or is out of stock, I can, in theory, I'm testing this right now, I'm going to test it, in theory, still replace that with something that is in stock, in season, and still have it produce generally the same flavor profile. And then from there, I was like, so how do I decide on what kind of signature or year-round flavor profile I want for Black City Coffee? Well, looking at the history of our very short history and just generally what I like, and again going back to the last video, what's easy for me to roast. It needs to be easy for me to produce so I can do it. There's no barriers to entry and I can easily push that thing out when anybody orders it. Okay, so I started messing around with the green that I have and thinking about what greens I typically will order in the future. So I landed on a 3, for now, a 3 coffee or origin blend. I don't think I need to share that because it'll just be too many questions of people going, well, too many questions of like, well, you're doing this, like what about this? I think you don't need to know that. You just need to know that I'm going to create a consistent flavor profile because that's always going to change. So that's not something that I want to put out into the world where if it does change on my end, it's more work for me to adjust and like change it in the branding, change it in the website and things like that. So again, thinking about the systems and efficiency of things, trying to make things easy for myself. Again, it's just me over here. So a 3 origin blend that I know I'm typically always going to be buying these types of coffees, and then blend them in a way, pre-roast blend them, and then roast them in a way that's maybe to a light, medium roast, medium, something like that. Test it, taste it, and as long as I'm testing and tasting it throughout the year and still hitting that same flavor profile, then there you go. That's my omni-roast. And again, testing it, when I say test it, it's not just cupping it. I'm actually brewing it, you know, AeroPress, right? AeroPress. Pour over. What did that taste like? We got my little espresso machine over here. What else? I think I'm going to do drip in a little bit, which I don't think there'll be much, you know, much difference. So testing it and just making sure I'm hitting those same flavor notes, which I keep in this book, this handy dandy book. Lots of you were asking about it. This is the Coffee Brewer's Logbook. I got mine from Hasea. You can go there. I'll put the link in the description. And it's basically just a really pretty, nice logbook. So I can go the name of the coffee, the method, the brew method. So I've got pour over, AeroPress. I've got espresso, and my notes with milk. I tested it with milk. Cool. I tested another test today. Tested it not just pouring milk in there, but also foaming some milk and doing a little latte. So testing, and making sure that this omni-roast is indeed actually fit for somebody who would take it into these methods, right? So really just trying to do my best in terms of creating an omni-roast. I don't know exactly what other people do, but I'm just going, hey, I think this is what people would do. Go do it. That's what being a roaster is all about. I think, let's try it, let's do it, and then see what the results are. If it doesn't work out, you go back to the drawing board. You just try again, okay? I believe I have found out and found for now with the grain that I'm working with now, a good workable omni-roast, which we are going to call, not that one, Tiger Claw. Tiger Claw right here, boom. So I've got first 2 production roasts of Tiger Claw here. An omni-roast, very simple. The flavor profile, I've been talking about this the whole time, didn't share it. Flavor profile, I'm going with plum, apricot, chocolate, and roasted barley. So these are the flavors I was kind of looking for. I was like, I definitely, you know, I want some chocolate in there. Everybody understands chocolate. I want to sort of not too dark, not too light. I love roasted barley flavor, like as a tea, its body, its viscosity, its flavor, its general flavor. I like that flavor. And then for the fruity side, I do want it to be fruity. I don't want it to be too tart or too citrus, which was great. We've got that plum, we've got that apricot. So those fruits, while they can have their tartness, depending on when you pick them and stuff like that, I would just call these like a regular plum, a regular apricot, and that sort of sweetness and acidity that they bring into the cup. Balanced with that, chocolate and roasted barley. And to me, I feel like this flavor profile, after testing it over the last month or so, that's going to be our signature blend, I guess, or signature coffee omni-roast. It's just something that I can just label as Tiger Claw and offer it all year round. It is tough to change all the time, even though I also said that was a pro. Like, I love to create new things. But sometimes you got to think of efficiency, consistency. And now that I've been here just a little bit, I'm putting in some time here in coffee world. And I feel like this is something that I can confidently say, I know the why, confidently say that this is going to be our signature blend. I always wanted to do this in the beginning. I just didn't have the time, the experience, the chops, I guess, to do it. So now I feel like it's a good time to sort of put this thing out, even though I've read about this a ton in the past. now I think is the time, you know? And you as roasters out there, I feel like if you have a hunch and you have an experiment that you want to run, you don't need validation. I mean, it's great to always get validation, but go do it. Just go do it. You know what needs to be done to make that coffee taste better, or maybe you don't know, and you just got to run some tests to go find it, okay? But I hope you don't get frustrated with it. Still love it, still love that process of discovery to find whatever it is that you're looking for in the cup as a roaster, you know. I find a joy in that. But I think that's the luxury of doing this as a hobby. So I don't mean to speak out of turn that I don't know that what working for money feels like, because I certainly do. But yeah, on my end, on my hobby end, yeah, I get to do this kind of at my leisure. So I understand, but I don't mean to speak out of turn in terms of that, you know. I'm thankful for that, for sure. I don't take it for granted. So yeah, here we go. Tiger Claw. Proud of that. Yay. Another announcement before I let you go, because we're hitting that 20-minute mark here. We have a new single origin on the board. I think we'll dedicate a little bit more to this as I work it through more tests, but we're calling it Don Vic, for Don Victor, the farmer who's cultivated this coffee, a Caturra, from Colombia, the Tolima region. It's cherry pies, it's cherry bombs, it's dark chocolate with hints of like fermented fruit. This coffee was interesting in that, maybe we'll just do it now, whatever. You know, I like to talk. Hints of fruit ferment, meaning, you know, I put that here on the label, but meaning that, you know, if you read the background on this coffee on Hesea's website, it says that this coffee is washed process, okay? I'll leave it for you guys to view. Right here. Washed process, and it's an interesting process in that it also says in parentheses, anaerobic ferment in cherry for 32 hours, and then they take it off, and then they ferment again for another how long, many hours, I forget. And then so they dry it out a little bit, fermenting a little bit more, you know, getting that sort of like fermenty fruit flavor. And then they wash it, okay? So to me, but it's still labeled as wash process. But when I taste it, taste a little fruitier than a typical washed coffee, right? And that's why I'm like, this tastes kind of fruity to me. You know, like a natural process coffee, but it's labeled as washed. So the cool thing is, if you're a roaster and you're looking at this green and you maybe want to try it out, I'd say that it roasts like a washed coffee, for sure. Doesn't act like a natural, but it tastes, it definitely has, in the cup, it has some natural components to it, that fruit ferment. Interesting. I like it. I love it, you know? So I was like, when I was running my test against El Salvador, which was a true natural coffee, I was like, yo, this natural is dope. I really like it. But got to think about the people. And the people like, I think, this coffee, which was the Colombia, Don Vic. So I went for Don Vic. So tell Don Vic what's up, because it's on the site. But I'm super excited to have Colombia back on the board. It's always good when we can get Colombia back on the menu, because Colombia is, I think, after all this time, maybe tied with Guatemala. But I really love what Colombia produces, especially when they get experimental with their processing. Just so much clarity of flavors, depth of flavors, and fun with the fruit. I like that stuff. Versus the African coffee fanatics who love all that stuff, you know, the acid heads. Maybe I'm a ferment head. I don't know, but I really like the fruit ferment flavor and stuff like that. The lactic acids, the 120-hour ferment stuff. I love that stuff. So if you try this, I think you'll get a smidge introduction into that. But it's really going to go in all brew methods as well. And we're going to offer this at light medium, and then like a medium plus plus. Something like that. I think I have that on the site. So yeah, you could check that out. But it's cherries. It's a cherry bomb from Don Vic. Okay? So yeah, I've been having a lot of fun over here. Roasting coffee, tasting a lot of coffee, and even, doing a little milk pours and stuff like that. Loving that. So yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoy that. I hope it helped share just a little bit of insight when you start comparing yourself to people online. Please, don't let that steal your joy away from coffee. Even though I totally get it. I totally feel that way sometimes. But yeah, enjoy it, discover. Hopefully you always have the joy of coffee, and just that alone sort of like guide you through, hopefully. All right, we'll see you in the next one. Bye.